In today's video, you're going to get to see the Mongrel hit the track for the first time. So thanks to everyone who bought a hoodie or a t-shirt. The weapon. These are still available on my website, there's a link in the description. $28.99 for a hoodie, $18.99 for a t-shirt, and there's worldwide postage available. I had some people asking about whether I was going to bring back the original Urchfab design, so I've got them back up on the website as well. So if you want to support the channel, grab some merch. So I booked a track day with Javelin Track Days at Thruxton Circuit. Never driven Thruxton before. One of my concerns with Thruxton was that the sound level, maximum decibels you could have was 90 decibels, which is really low in comparison to a lot of other tracks. So I contacted Piper, who supplied the exhaust, and they said that the current system would be about 96 decibels. So I ended up buying another center section with a silencer in it, which they said would take it to about 92 decibels. So did that, and then obviously I was a bit worried that it still wouldn't go through. So I made this little end can to take off the thing on the back, and that just slots on the back. And I was hoping that that would knock down the extra 2 decibels. But it ended up going through the sound test as it was, and he just said if it tripped the on-track thing, that I would have to put the can on the back. But I never did. So I'll put some footage up now of the first session. So after the first session, it was immediately obvious that there was something wasn't right with the setup on the car. Under braking, the back of the car was just squirming around and trying to kick out side to side. Also, even just lifting off, the back of the car was wanting to like come around on itself, which was quite unconfidence inspiring. And then I had a couple of mates there, Dave in his Datsun and Stu in his Datsun, and they both said the back of the car just looked way too soft. So I ended up stiffening up the back of the car. No, initially I tried stiffening up just the front of the car because I thought maybe the front was diving under braking, making the back of the car light. And also, one thing I was doing in that car was like just slamming on the brakes and braking way too hard, because it's this car's got a servo on it, and the Mark II Escort's got a bias pedal box with no servo. So in the Escort you really have to press the brake hard, but you get a good feel, I would say a much better feel of what the brakes are doing, and you know how much force you can apply, just because you're having to push a lot harder. For me, I'd prefer without a servo. So I think with that, I thought initially that was just what was causing all my issues. I was just hammering on the brakes and just throwing all the weight forward and lightening up the back. So I started by stiffening up the front, went out again, was a little bit of an improvement, but not really significant. So then the car ended up stiffening up the rear a bit, and went back out, and this was the session after I'd stiffened the front and the rear. of the car all the way so that the shocks were as stiff as they would go. Stiffened the front a bit more as well. Went out again, and that was an improvement again, but just I never had the feeling where I felt confident in the back of the car. So the front felt great, never had any issues with you know, understeer or anything, but then I don't know if I was really pushing hard enough to have created that, because the back didn't feel like it wanted to play ball. So chatted with a few people, there was some other MX-5s there that were going really well. So at the end of the day, I was just parked behind this MX-5. It was a black MX-5, turboed one that had been hammering around. And I noticed that his rear wheels were cambered in more than his front wheels. My rear wheels are running basically zero camber. So I knew that was going to be having an effect, and after doing some research on track day alignment settings, which I'll tell you where I am and where they are in a minute, but I realised that all my alignment settings were completely, basically backwards to where they should be. But the biggest cock up, when I did the ABS delete, I also deleted the brake proportioning valve. If you don't know what that is, that basically regulates what pressure goes to the front and the rear brakes. So you have a bias, you want more braking on the front brakes than you do on the rear brakes. So I was running the whole day without that in there, so I had a 50-50 pressure front to rear, and that was obviously what was causing under braking the back of the car to want to come round. It was actually skidding or locking the back wheels and causing the back to sort of skip into the corners. I realised that once I got home. Someone had said, "Oh, check your braking on the rear." So I started looking into bias, like I've got on the Escort, a bias valve where you can adjust the front and rear brakes. And I saw a picture of the master cylinder with the pipework coming out of it, and then the factory bias valve. I've had a look everywhere for that valve and bracket, which I can't find. I'm not sure maybe whether that was part of the ABS on this model, because this was a later one, or whether that was a part that I actually took off and that I've lost or something. I don't know. But anyway, I plumbed those brakes in without it, and as a result I had much too much braking on the rear. So stupid mistake, but we all make them. So alignment settings, from what I've read now, which I wish I'd read before I went on the track day, is that the alignment settings for this, on the rear, I should have 2.5 degrees of rear camber with 4mm toe in at the rear. I've got 0 degrees of rear camber and 0 degrees of toe on the rear. I don't know where I got these settings from, but I did actually align this car, so I got them from somewhere. On the front, I should have 1.5 degrees of camber and 0 degrees of toe. I've got 2.5 degrees of camber and 2mm toe out. And from what I've read, these cars are very sensitive to alignment changes, so that's all an easy fix. Need to get a brake bias valve. I'll just put like an adjustable one inside the car so I can adjust that on the fly and sort the alignment out, and I'm pretty sure it's going to drastically change the car. Because everyone's always said to me, oh, it's going to handle like an MX-5. I don't really have any experience with MX-5s, so I don't know what they should handle like, but obviously people rave about them that much. I'm sure that they should be mint. But regardless of that, I still had a really good day. The sun was shining. First time I've stood out in the sun in a t-shirt and actually absorbed some sunlight after what seems like a really long winter. It's now like -3 again in the workshop, but this is England. It's a really good track, and the track looks basic. Like, I watched a few videos of it and it looks quite a basic track, but it's really not. There's like all these big sweeping corners have got about 5 or 6 different corners and lines to them, and you've got this huge like right-hander that goes all the way around the back of the track, and you could just keep it flat all the way through, but I don't really have the balls to do it. There's a lot to getting around it, so I'll try and like work out what my lap time was off of the GoPro, and then I'd like to sort the handling issues with that. Just do the tracking and the brakes, and go back and see how much of an improvement I could make over those lap times. So yeah, good day out. Didn't crash. Definitely some improvements to be made on it. More track day stuff coming. I've got a day booked, Castle Combe, in a couple of weeks. So hoping to take the Mark II Escort to that. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. If you want to support the channel, get yourself some merch. Link in the description for that. So I'll leave you with some more track day clips from the GoPro if you're enjoying that. If not, cheers for watching. I'll see you on the next one.